All right. I'm doing the Radical Love case study, and it's presented by me, Ariana Huckabee. So I'm gonna be doing my radical case study on Breonna Taylor. Just a quick little rundown. Obviously, this was a very powerful movement a couple years ago, and I'm sure everyone knows who this is and her story. But she was brutally shot and killed by police in her own home. She was chilling in her bed, and when she heard a knock on the door, she put on her last pair of clothes. And who knew this was going to be her last time? Sorry, I'm very dramatic, so I do like to elaborate on her story, just to make it a little interesting, besides just reading off of the slides. But she did nothing wrong. Nothing. And months after the hands of the LMPD, her family has denied the justice they were served. Breonna's boyfriend fired on one of the police officers during the raid, but only because he thought they were expecting an armed robbery. And I'm going to show a video later on the officer who got shot point of view and his story, and how he's obviously continued to make excuses on why you shouldn't shoot first. You should try to run and try to hide. But you have to think of the ideal situations of what black man and black woman goes through. If there's a knock at the door, you're going to defend yourself, because obviously if you don't defend yourself, then one of y'all is going down, which is obviously the case that happened today and what proved his point. So just a few law enforcement codes of ethics that kind of emphasize this case a little bit, and what these officers, they're trained to do, and what they have to say when they're committing to this service. And it's just funny how these are just a few of the bullet points that I pointed out. But I will maintain courageous calm in the face of danger, scorn, and ridicule. Develop self-restraint. I will never act sorry if I pronounce these words wrong, but officially, or permit personal feelings, prejudice, political beliefs, aspirations, animosity, or friendship to influence my decision. I will enforce the law courteously and appropriately without fear or favor, malice or ill will, never employing unnecessary force or violence, and never accepting gratitudes. So the big problem here was the no-knock policy. And as I continued to do research, one of the things that the officers said was, since they had information going into the scene, the no-knock policy was automatically forgotten, and it turned into a knock policy. So one of the main protests, what they were fighting for, was a no-knock policy. Raids are deadly and they must be banned everywhere. And these are just two African American women, one a child and one an elder woman, who also endured this type of situation. So what could have happened? So this is just a video that I was talking about with the police who got shot and his point of view, and hopefully it works, because it wasn't working before, and if not, then there's just some of the words that he decided to speak on. And hopefully there's no ads either.
We are cyclists. We come from Uganda, Rwanda, Kenya. We use tech to become Team Amani. Show what we can do. Make connections. We've gone far. But someday, when anyone can be in any room and everyone can compete, we'll go much farther. Everybody will.
Alright. Oh, great. Just watched the ad for nothing. Great. Well, I kind of figured that it wouldn't work. So some of the things that he pointed out So the first one was what he realized later, that Taylor was not the target on the drug investigation that led to the simultaneous warrant her ex-boyfriend was. So basically, you're going into this huge rampage and you don't know the extent of what's actually going on. You're just ready to take down another black man. It's ridiculous, because number one, you just killed an innocent life, and a life that wasn't even supposed to be taken. You're trained for a reason. You're trained in these type of situations. You don't just shoot once you hear one shot. And I don't care if you say there is self-defense, because you're trained in these situations. No one else is trained. It was one shot in exchange of 37 extra shots. It's just a messed up system. And he also said, I would have done it differently knowing what I know now. What do you mean what I know now? You should have known everything before you decided to come into someone's house with 7 armed, trained police officers. But it doesn't mean it was wrong or something out of the ordinary, because it happens all of the time. So if it happens all of the time, don't you think you will have a protocol to make sure that it doesn't continue to happen? You know what I mean? Like, why, if you see a pattern, why do you continue to follow that pattern if it's not benefiting anyone? We lose a life, y'all face consequences. No one wants neither one of those sides. So why do you continue to do the same thing? And on top of that, these are you knew you was encountering African American people. And all of you officers are white. So if this is just an excuse to take down another black male, in this case a black woman, I'm gonna need you to take that badge off. Because the code of conduct, the code of ethic that you continuously repeat to honor your job is not being lived up to. And that's something you have to continue to live with for the rest of your life, which you are currently. And then what could have happened, so something that happened was systematic failures, a persuasive failure of training, supervision, and management. Exactly what I just said. There's another slide that could have happened as I continue to do research, it was some things that went wrong. So the Criminal Interdiction Division, which was to execute the search, did tell the SWAT team, which could have assisted or consulted on strategy. I mean, I probably meant to say did not tell the SWAT team. So once again, you go into this situation and did not have a strategy. That's another problem. Intelligence provided in advance of the search suggested to some officers it was a soft target because Taylor would likely be there alone. They had no idea Walker was there or that he was armed. That's another problem. You know, I said this before. You need to go into these type of situations knowing everything. Talking about you wish you would have known, you would have done things differently if you would have known what you know now. It's just crazy how they just think of something, they automatically go with their gut feeling. And once again, that's going to be number 4 will elaborate more on number 2. But number 3 is neither officers appears to have properly identified their target before they fired or took into account what was behind their target that their bullets hit. You don't know if it was siblings, if it was kids, if it was grandparents. You don't know if it was a family gathering and they was enjoying dinner at a table, but you insist on firing 37 extra rounds just because. And if in my defense, or in their defense, not even in their defense, but you come with shields, you come with protection. So if a gun was to hit, it wouldn't really hit you. So if anything, you're more protected than the people behind these doors. And you guys know what a bullet do. At least you have that much education on guns, I guess. But you know what bullets do. And it pierced through, I wish I could have showed pictures, but it pierced through windows. It pierced through the kitchen. It pierced through the bedroom. It hit the walls. Like, you could tell how irresponsible these bullets or these guns was fired. Number 4, Heiberger said that he hadn't reviewed the entire investigation, but saw enough and saw enough to identify a pattern of errors. That just sometimes happen. Okay, I'm done, because what he said right there, another excuse to put another black man down. So how was they loved? Unfortunately, she is not alive anymore. So she really could have gotten fair treatment, or she could have been loved if these officers weren't using their personal ideals and being prejudges. I think I said that wrong also. But they just use their weapon, or they use their badge as an excuse to put people down. But, outside of all of this, it was protests on top of protests on top of protests. Standing up for Breonna Taylor, making sure that these officers are put behind bar and she get the justice that she deserved. And these officers, they were sentenced to some years. Hopefully that's accurate information. But these protests will continue. These protests continued for some time, and we stood up and we stand up and we continue to fight for racial justice. So these are just some of the sources. I don't know if you really want me to click on them. Oh, this is the wrong one. Well, that's another thing. The internet didn't really allow me to, I don't know. But yeah, that's my presentation on Breonna Taylor.